Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is Ashquest, and I've had Dungeons & Dragons, the fantasy adventure board game, for some time. Admittedly, not as long as many of the other games that I have, but I did show this, unbox it on the channel some time ago. With its ease of setting up and playing, and the fact that it contains 40 detailed miniatures, and has a bunch of D6 dice that are just not at all standard 1 to 6 pips, but rather interesting combat dice with various symbols on them, as well as roll to move with grids, tiles, line of sight, and so on. I would say this is as close to a HeroQuest as you can get with Dungeons & Dragons IP, unless of course you count 1992 Dragon Strike from TSR, which I absolutely do. Get back in there. Parker was eating it up in 2003 with this particular branding of Dungeons & Dragons because we do see these characters in a variety of media, Dungeons & Dragons games mainly, but never mind that. Since obtaining this game, I've kept my eye out for its 2 expansions. They're all over the place on eBay, but not for what I would consider fiscally responsible prices, at least until now. I have finally acquired Dungeons & Dragons expansion pack for the fantasy adventure board game Forbidden Forest from Parker. Now this is not standalone, obviously the original D&D fantasy adventure board game is required to play. This is one of 2 expansions available for the fantasy adventure board game, the other one being Eternal Winter, or the Frozen Horror expansion basically. I have no preference, I simply was able to get this one first, so this is the one that we are going to look at on the channel first. Enter the wilderness. Elwick and Orwick were druids, defenders of nature, who vanquished the evil monsters of the Forbidden Forest. They lived in peace until marauders burned Elwick's house to the ground, killing his wife and children. This gets dark. This gets dark fast. Consumed by rage, Elwick fled to the darkest heart of the forest and made a pact with foul creatures to avenge his murdered family. Now terror, has returned to the forest, and Orwick must gather a party of heroes to stop his brother destroying all they once held dear. Will you join him in his quest to defeat the monsters, or will you be the dungeon master and take control of a host of fearsome creatures and wicked villains? Look at these web addresses here in the corner. We have hasbro.co.uk, and then we have danddgame.com. How much hair product are these kids using? All right, I've immediately got a gripe, and that's the box lid doesn't lift off. And in fact, you have to find where the flap is, open it, and slide the contents out. Massive fail. Complete and total sin in board game boxing methodologies. This is a complete edition here, so if you have your mind set on acquiring one of these for yourself, you will get everything that is here if it is complete. And it doesn't look like a whole lot, and to be honest, it's not a whole lot, and that's kind of why I have to wait for something that's more reasonably priced. But I am a professional thrifter, so that's not a problem. We've got our Forbidden Forest expansion set manual, listing of all the contents in case you need that. Always be on the first page of our adventure book here. 2 double-sided game boards, check. 1 druid hero figure, check. 1 evil druid figure, check. That's all of this nonsense here. There's a lot going on in this corner of the board, and rightfully so, for it to have the spot that has the cutaway in the box to showcase what the game comes with. This thing is really impressive. I'll get to that in just a moment. 10 monster figures, check. 2 hero tokens under the cards. That's a check. That's them. 2 trapdoor tokens, check. 47 additional cards. I counted them. They are there. 2 hero boards. Love a good hero board. 1 charge die. That must be this guy. And adventure book. Wait, where's the adventure book? The Forbidden Forest was once a place of dread and darkness. Unspeakable things roamed its wild pathways, and there's a lot more to the story that Ash is not going to read. Now, this does require that you have the original Dungeons & Dragons fantasy game, as mentioned, because it's going to be using map boards from that, as well as various tokens, chits, monsters, and so on. But this is going to allow you to finally play new adventures with your base game. You can combine the forest boards of the base game with the forest boards from this game, and come across a variety of new configurations for sessions. You can't really call them dungeons because there's not a single dungeon in this pack. Not even a dungeon crawler, it's a forest crawler. But there are only 6 adventures here, ranging from level 1 to 3. 6 certainly doesn't seem like a lot. In my opinion, it's not. And then the 6th adventure, we're facing up against the big bad of this whole expansion. But that's okay. You get some components to continue making your own adventures with the base game and with the expansion contents. And because it's forest-based, this will really go a long way. You can get a lot of mileage out of forest, a lot of mileage. All right, our charge die is nothing to write home about. It's got a bunch of feet on it, so if you like feet, you're gonna love this. This is gonna be your favorite dice of all time. It's kind of a weird thing to say. I know somebody's going to ask, how many goats can you fit outside? Infinite. Infinite goats can be fit outside, so automatically this wins that. If you see standard base game sets of the Dungeons & Dragons Fantasy Adventure board game and it seems like something you want on eBay anyways, any place where there's pictures, make sure to study the pictures pretty thoroughly because it's like a couple of other games in existence wherein the expansion contents will very easily fit in the base game box and everything will go back together just fine. And so if somebody did that, maybe as a kid, and threw away the expansion box, then you might be looking at a base game that has an expansion included with it. So study those pictures very closely to see if that is the case, because sometimes you can get a free expansion with the game. Sometimes the sellers are selling the game on behalf of somebody else or for charity or whatever, and they're not necessarily looking to make all the money in the world off of it. They just want to get the transaction done and get the money to put towards whatever they need it for. So we're going to look at some of the base game miniatures that have some of my favorite heroic scale skeleton minis of all time. These are so awesome. Retiarius skeletons. You can't beat that. That is amazing. Archer skeletons are pretty peak, but Retiarius skeletons are just friggin', they're boss. You got some bugbears, all of this very Dungeons and Dragons flavored monster properties. Your wraiths, your goblins, some of my favorite enemy goblin sculpts. Probably second to the Citadel style. I show you those to show the compatibility in style that they have with this expansion. You get owlbears with this expansion. I love this owlbear, and I'm not really like an owlbear fan. It does suffer from the sin of being beyond its base, so this could create board crowding, but when your setting is set outdoors, this is a little more forgivable in terms of immersion. They've got that lovely kind of bendy material. You don't see a whole lot of this kind of material being used back in the day. But I have to commend Parker for having sculpts that do match very closely the original game. This was never an issue for me with anything HeroQuest related, except for the US exclusive expansions. The Mage of the Mirror and, well, basically just Mage of the Mirror, those sculpts did not look at all like HeroQuest sculpts. You have the Druid Hero. This Druid comes with a host of new magical abilities, a new hero board. It may suit a playstyle unique to this. I was just talking about compatibility, but this Druid's base is bigger. That's so strange. And the purple's a little bit off too. I mean, yeah, I don't expect everything to be perfect all the time in terms of like, this is just a couple of shades off, but it's just enough to be like, you could have matched that more perfectly, you know? You could have done that. Also the base size, that's crazy. Why has the Druid got such a bigger base? I'm really picking. I'm just picking. It doesn't matter, and I know that it doesn't matter, but it's fun to look at and kind of pick at. We kind of have some faction coloring with the original D&D game, or the D&D Fantasy Parker game, in that our heroes are purple, and then we've got like trolls and goblins that are green. Our more beastly-like characters are going to be brown. God, I love this scale. These proportions are so cool. And it looks like we've got different shades of green and brown and gray to go along with our factions, sort of. The faction's not mentioned anywhere in the book. It doesn't seem to matter that they're different colors, but it does make spotting them a lot easier. And it's really cool that they're all kind of fall forest floor colored. They're all immediately recognizable as being from this forest-based expansion. I like that. It's the little things in design that I really appreciate. We've got the Yuan Ti abominations here. I don't like this enemy myself. I love a good snake man, but something about Nagas I'm not thrilled about them. I'll enjoy cutting them down. The owlbears I like. I've shown them, but I want to show them again. I do like them, and you'll notice that these do follow the convention of having numbers on the bases, so the sculpts are technically unique in that they are numbered, but this is so you can keep track of the different numbered enemies. These monsters, of course, have accompanying cards that give you all of their stats, as well as what dice that they roll for their attack. And this is important because these dice have very different configurations on their faces. They're very much like the power dice. Now we've got 3 Yuan Ti Half-Blood. That's what these actually are. These are Yuan Ti Half-Blood miniatures, enemies. And each one has a card, but there is another card with a bit of a powered-up version called the Yuan Ti Abomination. I saw that one first, so that's why I referred to it first. Really cool and wise use of resources to have your powered up version of a monster on its own separate card, but using the same sculpt. It's kind of like having the orc with the notched sword that we didn't get in a remake of a certain game. Unfortunately, this phenomenon never happens again. Now we have razor boars. I like them. I like them a lot. Boars, very dangerous. Native, definitely something that will attack you. Aggressive, something that you could choose to put down in self-defense, even if you don't like the animal monsters in any of these games. Plenty of people don't like that there's wolves that you can attack and kill in the HeroQuest game. And I know it's fantasy, and the same thing might not bode well for there being boars. Next up, we have the Shambling Mound, which has the grasp and hold ability. The Shambling Mounds. This is a D&D favorite for sure. At least it's well known in the D&D universe. Sorry about that camera focusing issue there. Shambling Mounds, very well known in the D&D universe for their shambliness and their moundliness. All right, enough of that. We get 2 new potions with this, the Herbal Potion and the Elixir of Nature. And if you roll a star upon consuming the potion, you will not discard the potion because some of it will remain. Restores up to 2 hit points. Love that. What is that? Exploding dice mechanic? Have always loved it. It introduces such an opportunity to break the game, but the odds of that happening just decrease exponentially every time you roll it in succession. I guess that would be linear. It's a 1 in ×6 chance, and then that ×6 multiplies by ×6 every time you roll it, of you getting that exploding result again, that is. For weapons, we've got the Resolution Crossbow, which deals out pain to its enemies and magic energy to its bearer. Roll a star, get 2 spell points back. Love that die. The Staff of Tempers, the Staff of Recovery, the Staff of Striking, the Bow of Fortune, and the Staff of Might. Now, I said the 1 in 6 thing earlier. This die is not set up to have only 1 star. It actually has 3, so you've got a 50% chance. The die that I was thinking of is actually from the Warhammer Quest board game. 50% chance. That is kind of broken. That should be nerfed. Next up, we've got artifacts. All these cards have the same backs. It's actually kind of nuts, but it's okay. They're all part of the equipment treasure deck. The Crystal Ball of Bevan. Roll a star, discard the crystal ball, but this will reveal the contents of an adjacent room. The Mask of T-Serp, the Twisted Cape of Fingers, the Ring of Elona, the Bracers of Archery, the Ring of Traps, the Bracers of Speed, a simple wooden shield, the Ring of Obadiah, the Bracers of Thrusting, the Horn of Fog, the Wand of Revealing, the Medallion of Bokob, which is Bokob spelled backwards, the Manual of Spells, the Harp of Charming, rogue only, the Knapsack of Holding, increases the number of items the hero may carry by 3. The knapsack takes up no item space. I love stuff like that. You've got level requirements in the corner too. You must be level 1 to wear the Bracers of Archery. Next up, we've got spell cards. Open and close door. Wow, what a magical, miraculous ability. This is basically the Mage Hand. The Chant of Recovery. The Trap Master spell. This reveals the location but not the type of all traps in the area. The Teleport spell. This allows you to move a hero or a monster up to 6 spaces in any direction but not through walls. 10 spaces if you roll a star. The Hold spell. I just want to say, these are some of my favorite kinds of cards. The way that they are designed and configured to have our symbols in the side, on the side, the requisite dice here at the bottom. You've got the name of the spell, a little bit of flavor text, the type of card that it is on the front, clear pictures of dice, what happens when you roll certain things. Everything about the ability or the spell or the item is immediately evident at a glance. They just made really, really good use of the real estate on the card, and I just want to appreciate that. And they did this with just the front side. All of the back halves of the cards look the same, the back sides. Command Charge, Spell of Brilliance, Wrath of Nature, Nature of Wrath, and Summon Object, where the word lost property is restored to its owner. You even have flavor text. That's so nice. Take 1 item from the discard pile. I hope you picked up on that this presentation was really a clue on homebrewing your own items for other games. All right, we've got some hero cards here for Elwick and Orwick, and then a charge die explanation. All heroes and some monsters may charge instead of their normal movement action. The rules for charging can be found on page 6 of the rulebook. The order of combat dice rolled is yellow, red, orange, purple. If a hero or monster rolls a blank on the charge die, the charge is failed. If the charge is successful, roll the following dice. The star, and if you roll a star, the target loses its next turn, or this one, for each skull rolled, reduce the charger's hit points by 1. Armor class has no effect. Entire mechanic with die rolls included with this. It's just so easy to appreciate and complement We've got hero boards next up, Orwick the Human Druid and Elwick the Human Druid. They have pretty much the exact same descriptions, except one's the younger of two druid brothers, one's the elder of two druid brothers. They have different stats for their different levels. They have the same special actions and the same stats, except Elwick can carry 5 items. Same spell point distribution, colors, tiers, all of that. The opposite side of these cards are blank, except we get some instructions on how to assemble bushes, which this game does come with bushes we can put together. Now we have these cross-plane models. We're almost done here. We're going to take a look at the boards. We have a lovely bridge going across, linking these two lands over a gentle stream, or perhaps a violently flowing ravine, depending on how you want to look at it. Some felled trees, some stones. I suppose our perspective is actually from here. That actually makes a lot more sense. Having perspective enforced in a board like this is a little bit weird, especially when it's not consistent. We're like directly over the bridge, yet we're kind of back here looking at this plane and the rest of what's going on. It's okay. It's okay. That's known as board 17. This is known as board 18. That way it's easy to separate them from the other boards in a numbered fashion, the boards from the base game. Interestingly enough, there's quite the gap in numbers from the 1 through 10 and the 15 through 18 here, which means that boards 11 through 14 must belong to Eternal Winter, which means Eternal Winter comes before this expansion in some form or another. I like this. It's an interior of a dungeon. It's walled on all sides. We'll be able to put doors down wherever we like, and I really appreciate that there's not doors baked in. We do have some twisting brambles coming in for effect, but nothing that seems to really contribute to the mechanics of the scene. And we have an entire outside portion. So this can border another outside tile without any problem whatsoever and extend the life of that tile, so to speak. The dungeon portion can also be linked up with any other dungeon portion. And I really appreciate the asymmetricalness of this, how that entrance is just slightly off. It actually doesn't bother me. I like it. I like it because they are two different boards, and it's a choice to kind of design your dungeon in this way. It's a choice to make it asymmetrical should you wish to do that. You can do it again, actually, this way. It just makes things look a little bit more organic, and I appreciate that. So boards 15 and 16 are another outdoor with 2 dungeon rooms, and then the other side is purely outdoor with the stream. So obviously you can take this side of this board, this side of this one, and link them up. 15 and 17 go together perfectly. This nice long stream. And then you can take 5 boards from the base game and put them all over to create another scene if you so desire to have this huge sprawling quest for your session. Finally, we are going to look at the miniature in the corner. We're saving the best for last. There is a lot going on here, so bear with me. Look at this finely detailed Parker Brothers Hasbro Wizards of the Coast miniature. This is one of the cooler things that I have seen. I can't believe it has to come with a game expansion that's so inaccessible now. And the reason that this is so cool, not because it's differently colored, although that does contribute to its cool factor, is that it's actually several pieces kind of put together. It's a modular miniature, and we're not talking about the kind that has push-to-fit pegs or anything like that. Miniatures that you have to snip off of a sprue and then glue together, and then once you've done that, that's forever how they look, and you have to take all your greebly bits and sell them to the local game store so that other gamers can buy them for $0.25 a piece. Although there's nothing wrong with that practice. You can almost assemble entire miniatures from the bits and bobs that you find in those bins. But now we can take off this helmet part with this bone mask, and we can see the true face of Elwick. And then we also have this cloak of fingers, which is removable. And all this stuff just stays on by gravity. I mean, it's not like affixing to the mini in any way. You place it down and you're done. And then you take the helmet and you place it over that and you're done. Whoops. And yeah, you've got different configurations if you so desire, but it's just really cool that they designed it like that. I gotta give these guys mad props for the design phase of this expansion. They were really going all out, and I don't know why. When you're ready to re-present this miniature, you just fit the staff back in his little hand. The fingers will wrap around exactly that part, while the base of it will exactly go down there. Is that a foot? That's a foot on the bottom of the staff. That's kind of gross. Again, if you like feet, this is the expansion for you. Just rest him down here in the corner. Again, if you wanted to combine the contents into your base game, dropping stuff all over the place. Every video. I don't show it, but I drop stuff on the floor constantly. So if you do that, at home, or if you're a content maker and you drop stuff, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. What it'll do is it'll fall off that side of the table, forcing me to take off my headphones because I'm audio monitoring, get up, walk around the table, stoop down, grab thing, put thing on table or in box or whatever, come back around, or what it'll do is it'll fall this way. It will fall into my lap, but inevitably, invariably, it will bounce off of my lap or ricochet off my leg, perhaps onto my foot, where it will bounce off at a 90-degree angle and go under the table. I don't know which one is worse. I know exactly which one's worse. It's the one that makes me complain more. The fact that I'm complaining at all. Be quiet, Ash. Stop complaining. Game makers of today, look at this. Look at this. This is just a cavity in a candy tray. There's no spaces cut out. Why aren't there spaces cut out? Because they didn't have to worry about the miniatures bouncing around and losing an arm or a weapon. Just make stuff out of rigid material again. You don't have to make everything out of brittle resin and then have each miniature protected in its own little cavity. It takes up so much room. It takes up so much. It makes your boxes so big. Granted, if you can manage your space like an Quest, Dungeon Saga Origins, those are really, really well managed boxes, and I'm going to compliment them every chance I get when it's relevant. There's a lot of dead space here, but the box has to be the size that it is to accommodate the 10 by 10. Actually, that's 11 by 11. These are 11 by 11 tiles. 11 by 11 tile, not necessarily inches. No, they're 10 inch by 10 inch tile boards, which means these are like closer to the 15, 16 tile sizes of the older HeroQuest, which is cool. Totally unrelated. But again, all of your stuff will fit into the base game box if you so desire it, and it just crams on in there without any issue, and you don't have any lid lift or anything, really. And I kind of wonder if I get Eternal Winter, when I get Eternal Winter one of these days, if I'll be able to fit all of the contents of everything into the one box. I like doing that. But now I gotta slide everything back in. Oh, and I gotta make sure the board's on the bottom. That way the presentation miniature can stay. I don't want the booklet to be up there either. Candy tray, ooh, candy, 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 candy tray. Ba-doom, doom, doom. My game comes with the candy tray. Can't tell you why. And that's my Dungeons & Dragons expansion, Forbidden Forest. I said that these characters, this branding here specifically, appeared on a few Dungeons & Dragons products around this time, 2003. You had references to Lida, the halfling rogue, and so on in a couple of things. I want to say they were like D&D quick start sets, but it could have been just like the edition of D&D that came out around that time, 2003, 2004. This came out in 2003. This came out in 2004. I'm interested enough that I might try to collect all of the stuff that's specific to this version, this very specific branding of D&D, because it just feels like it kind of all fits together in this nice cohesive way. Not quite the 90s, but it's not like super far after the 90s ended either. It fits well within my domain, I believe. Thank you so much for watching, Brave Heroes. I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, a blast from the past. And I will see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, have a great rest of your journey, and farewell for now.